Hi everybody, today I'm going to show you how to do two-sum on your LeetCode. This is one easy problem. I do plan on making more videos on the challenges depending on how much time I have and how much I get done of these problems. Now I will be using C# as my language, and let's get right into it. So we have an array called nums, and then we have an integer that adds up to a specific target. So for example here, 2, 7, 11, 15 has a target of 9, so 2 plus 7 is 9, right? Our index is 0 and 1 because in computer science we start our indexes from 0, 1, 2, 3. So it's telling you the two numbers that have an index of 0 and 1, which is 2 and 7 here, they add up to 9. Same goes for this, 3, 2, 4, target is equal to. So to understand this problem, we're given a array. So we're given an array of 3, 2, 4, and remember our index values start at 0. So we're going to have 0, 1, 2. That is our index value within this specific array. Now I made this chart because it's much easier to comprehend when you draw it out and you'd be like, oh, okay, now I get it. But I've also included the index numbers in pink, so you kind of get an idea. I've started with 2 because I feel like it's easier to add numbers going from lower to greatest. That's why I started with 2. And I've also included the indexes, so just be careful. 2 has an index of 1, then 3 would have an index of 0. Now you can see that 2 plus 2, I didn't add that because, again, we don't have another 2 in our array. We only have 3, 2, 4. So we can add 3 and 2, which gives us 5. We can add 2 and 6, which gives us 6, and that is our target number. And then we can't add 3 because, again, 3 is not in our array. I mean, another additional 3. We only have 1 3, not 2, because our computers are not, they can't comprehend the fact that you can add the same number. You have to let it know. You have to give it the same number in an array, if that kind of makes sense. So 3 plus 4 is 7. Now, the reason 4 is blocked out here is because we've already calculated the values. So, for example, 4 plus 2, that's 6. We can't repeat the numbers again because in order to do that, we would have the numbers twice in the array. So we would have 3, 2, 4, 3, 2, 4 in one whole array. But that's not the question here. So 4 plus 3, again, it's repetitive. We have it right here. And 4 plus 4, again, we can't have the same numbers, so this is not possible. Therefore, we can conclude that there's only 2 numbers that add up to 6, which is 2 and 4. And when we go back to our chart, our indexes are very important because that has 2 and 4 has an index of 1 and 2. Too difficult, I think. It's pretty easy to understand. So here again, our method is, well, it's fetching that data, it's fetching that array of numbers and target. So that's pretty straightforward. And then I've made a list to store all these values. So I'm actually using nested loops, which is, you know, it's a okay solution, but I enjoy it because it's more like logical and you kind of understand exactly what you need. So for in any integer I is equal to 0, I is less than the length of numbers within that array. So within the array of numbers, which is what it's called, it's less than the element values. And then I plus plus. Then I have another for loop because as I explained in the video before, well, not video, the clip before, we have another integer called v, and I is going to add 1. If we don't do that, if we set v is equal to 0, then it's going to start adding values repetitively. See, here I'll kind of show you just so you guys get an idea of what I mean. See, it works for case 1 because it finds a value, right? The code is doing exactly what it's supposed to. For I is equal to 0, so it takes in like the values from the first array, and I tell it that if it finds something, we have to return those values to the list num, and then the code must be done, right? But by the second time, nothing's going to happen because it already found me one of the solution. So that's why we need to I plus 1 to let the code know that this is what I'm trying to do. So once I do that, it should work perfectly. So, right, see? Integer v is equal to I plus 1, and then v, again, same thing, v plus plus. It has to be 1 greater than the I value before because we're adding 2 separate values. We don't want repetitiveness. Now I use an if statement, and here I am actually referencing the array value within that specific array. So, for example, I can have an index number of 0. So that's exactly what I'm referencing. If number within that array plus number of v is equal to target, so basically, for example, if our target is 7, 3 plus 4 is equal to target, then add the array, the index value to my list up here called list nums. So technically all I do care about is basically the index value, and that's why I've used this to have my index value, to let the code know that I need to display this index value. And once I do so, I have to return that list back to here, well, with the upgraded values from this part of the code. Now, once this is done, this is also very important because if we don't have this, this code would not work because we're basically telling it if it's null, if it can't find an answer, then do nothing, basically. So here, let me show you in a second. And it's good to play around with your code, even though if you know it's working, so you kind of just understand what's happening. See, it can't return a value because it doesn't know what to do. So we need to have a return value here, and the reason is because this is a whole for loop, so you have to put it after the whole section of code. This way it goes line by line because C# is a code that goes line by line, if that makes sense. See, now it works. Hope that helps.